Oi, gente, eu sou a Lila, eu sou quadrinista e hoje eu estou aqui para entrevistar a Alice Oseman. Eu estou emocionada, a autora do Heartstopper, que é um quadrinho incrível e que também virou série na Netflix, que já foi, inclusive, renovada por mais 2 temporadas. Hoje a gente vai bater um papo sobre quadrinhos, sobre um pouquinho sobre a série, mas muito sobre quadrinhos. Eu espero que vocês gostem.
Hello.
I am so happy, and I think my questions are going to be much more like two people that make comics talking. Because first, I really need to say that you changed everything for us that make comics, because we make comics, independent comics. I used to watch your videos on YouTube, and you would say that you were going to start a Kickstarter and all the books in your house, and I experienced that a lot, like lots and lots of books in my house, and going to sell the books in book fairs, and so when you changed that, and first I also was published by a book publisher, but then Heartstopper came and changed everything. I believe everyone is going to go back to online stories, and it's going to be, so thank you for that.
Oh, that's nice.
And the other thing that I need to thank you is just because yesterday I was watching a friend. She's a drag queen, and she was telling, she's a YouTuber, and she was saying that she loved Heartstopper so much because it is, for us queer people, what we wanted to live, the kind of love, the kind of falling in love story that we wanted to have when we were kids and teenagers, and we didn't. So it's a different way to approach the falling in love, that is much more like when we were kids, and the way we dreamed about falling in love as queer people. So she said that this was very important to her to see that, and that she's very happy that teenagers now are going to have this reference. And the part that you already mentioned about wanting to touch somebody's hand and texting, and it's just, I was falling in love, and that was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Val. As a comic book artist, I was flipping. I was crazy for the entire 3 books. I almost had a heart attack with the series, so you almost killed me.
Oh no.
So I first I have to make the questions about drawing, of course. So how did you start drawing? How it was for you?
I've been drawing ever since I was really little. I would draw, I remember I used to draw a lot of Pokemon, and like other cartoons that I watched online, and on TV. Just drawing, like it was just my hobby throughout my whole childhood and then all through my teens, and I never thought that I could get a job out of it. It was always just something that I could do for fun. But yeah, now we're here.
It made your hobby, as we all did, your hobby, your job. Did you get another hobby?
I know, I need to get another hobby, I really do.
So in Heartstopper, we have a lot of rugby rules. And we have lots of sceneries, lots of did you use a lot of references? Because I can't work without references. I forget how a classroom looks like. I forget everything. And did you know about rugby before?
No. I knew nothing about rugby. I had to like read the Wikipedia page and like figure out what the rules are. But even then, I think there ended up being some like incorrect information in the comic.
You never know.
Yeah, I have no idea. But yeah.
Did you use lots of references about the classrooms and the clothes?
Yeah, clothes often I like to look on like online shops and just see like what the cool clothes are, particularly for boys, and also things like buildings I find really difficult, like houses. I always have to use a picture, and also animals. Often I don't use a reference and I just do it from imagination and I don't really mind that much, but some like animals I find really hard, like dogs. I just, I need to see a picture of a dog.
And then you got a furry dog, so it's
exactly
kind of difficult to draw in all the perspectives. So congratulations for that. Did you how was your process? Because you had a weekly comic, and it's really hard to make a weekly comic. When people start reading it, they start pressuring you to do more and more episodes per week. How was the process to build the comic?
Well, it's not been as bad as you'd think. I think when I started making Heartstopper, I knew that I needed to figure out a style that was really easy and quick for me to make. So that's the reason that the comic is in black and white, and it's in quite like a sort of sketchy style. There's not a huge amount of detail in the backgrounds or anything like that. So I could make the pages quite quickly. And I made sure that the schedule was manageable. So I do 3 updates a month. So that's an update like every 10 days. And I think, just knowing like that was completely manageable for me for a really, really long time. And it only got to like last year which was when I realized that I couldn't keep it up anymore, and I had to, like, for the very first time in like 5 years, I had to take a break from drawing the comic.
5 years.
It had been a really long time, so taking that break last year was really scary because I'd never put the comic on hiatus before, and I've just put the comic on hiatus again, because there are so many other things going on that just doing Heartstopper comic as well has just been impossible. But yeah, for a long time it was fine somehow. And
do you have mangas inspiration? What are you? I saw that you are inspired by Tilly Walden, and yes. I'm obsessed. I'm going to Center of Cartoon Studios next month, and she's a teacher, so I'm freaking out. What are your inspirations? Do you have manga inspirations?
Yeah, definitely. When I was growing up in my teens, the school library had a load of romance manga, and I would go in there and just read all of those. I think Fruits Basket is the classic. Yeah, that's like the iconic teen romance manga. And I remember just being obsessed with that. I think manga has probably had the biggest influence on my style, and the way I draw Heartstopper and the way I put panels together, and like the focus on like facial expressions and gestures. I think that's really inspired by me reading a lot of manga as a teenager.
I love the tiny faces that you put inside the balloons, like if they are really happy, excited with the texts and everything, and you put a tiny face there, like it's really lovely. And of course, I got really inspired with that in my drawings too, I have to say. So Heartstopper is going to be an inspiration for my next comics, for sure. Did you have the whole story written before start publishing a weekly webcomic, or did you start building the story as you went with the pages?
Definitely building it as I went. I had I've always had like a very, very rough structure of the story. Like I know where it's going to end, I know what the ending is going to be, and I know like what like the big themes of each chapter are going to be. But I hadn't really I honestly don't plan it that far in advance. I do just let myself kind of go with the flow a little bit and make it up as I'm going along. Yeah.
I'm trying to learn how to build an organized script, because I think I can't function with building the characters as we go, because then it's a mess for me. So Heartstopper is such a really concise and organized story, you know. So well, it's amazing that you can do like that. How did you transfer? Because we have here 3 forms of comics, from the webtoons to the books and then to the series. How was that? Because the webtoons has a really specific format, and then you have to transfer that to books, and then you have to transfer that to a script, TV script. How was that?
Well, transferring it from the webcomic to the books was really not that difficult, because I'd always made the webcomic in a style that is suitable for a book. I know that a lot of webcomic artists now do it in this very specific style that's designed
very long
vertical scroll. But Heartstopper has never been that. It's always been like kind of rectangular panels, and pages. You know, I make it in pages that are the right size for a book. It just so happens that like the style of Heartstopper also works quite well if you're like scrolling vertically on a phone, because the panels are so big. So it kind of is like the best of both worlds in that sense. And then taking the comic into the TV show, again, really not as difficult as you'd think, because first of all, the way that I write the comics is very similar to the way you'd write a screenplay, you know, because it's all just dialogue and then scene directions, which is exactly the way that you would write a TV show. And also, like, I think comics and TV and film are really similar in the way that they're like creatively made, because you're choosing the shots, you're choosing the angles, you're deciding whose face to zoom in on. Like, it's a really similar sort of art form. So yeah, it was a challenge. There were some challenges, but it wasn't like really, really, really difficult.
But it was really well done, especially because first, the characters, they look a lot like the characters in the book. Oh my God, like you guys. And then and then the atmosphere, like the soundtrack and every new music, I was flipping, because it was just what I would like to hear reading the books. So
amazing.
It was really good to translate that. It went really well, and the characters, they look their age. So
yes,
that was really important to the beauty of the story for me. And what was your reaction to all the success? Because until a few years ago, you had a YouTube channel and you were talking about the process. And I saw a video about going to college and everything very regular. And then all this happening and then they renew to 2 more seasons.
Yeah, it's been very, very overwhelming to suddenly have such a massive audience. It's really exciting. Like, I'm so happy that so many people are now reading Heartstopper, and to see it like translated in so many languages and to see it high up on the bestseller list, like that is so incredible. And I'm so grateful that that's all been happening. I suppose on the downside, having so many followers means I can't really have that like close connection with my readership anymore, which is kind of sad. Like, you know, a few years ago when I uploaded Heartstopper, I'd be able to reply to lots of the comments, and I'd be able to read all of the comments and, you know, see what everyone's saying about Heartstopper. But now there is so much, I just can't really engage with the fandom in the same way anymore. So, you know, you win some, you lose some.
but people are talking about Oseman verse, like
Yeah.
it's like, are there going to be any more stories from the Oseman verse? And I was like, what? My friend that is obsessed with Heartstopper, he's calling Oseman verse. He has stickers on his cell phone, and he has the Gay Panic wallpaper. So it's truly an Oseman verse. And how did you feel about seeing your characters becoming real people?
Yeah, it's an amazing, like it's an amazing feeling, and they all did an incredible job. Like it's really been such a positive experience. Like lots of book adaptations can go quite badly, but Heartstopper has just been a really, really amazing success for me. Yeah.
I have to go to the Netflix series just for a while to talk about Isaac, because he became a booktuber. He became a book an
icon.
He became a book icon. And I just had to ask if you guys thought carefully about the book list that he was reading, and because we have like Rory Gilmore challenge, and now we have Isaac's challenge, reading challenge,
I did pick all of the books, but I feel like if I'd known that it would have become such a thing, I would have picked them a bit more carefully. Because it was just like I didn't think too hard about it. I just picked books that I thought he might like or were like relevant to the scene. But it's fun. It's really fun.
If you had to choose a character that you identify more and that you can say, oh my God, that is a lot more inspired in myself. Like I do that all the time with my characters. So who would you pick?
Well, in Heartstopper, I would pick Alid, who is one of the friends of Charlie. And he doesn't have a lot to do in Heartstopper. He has his own book called Radio Silence. But in Heartstopper, I am like, Alid is the character. He's quite quiet. He's always like observing. He's the quiet friend. And that is definitely me. I really identify with that.
I think I would be Tao.
Sure. Nice.
Yeah. What can we wait from the next book and the Oseman verse from now on?
Yeah, well, volume 5 of Heartstopper. I'll be working on that next. Very exciting. Can't say much about it at the moment, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it will be out next year. Unconfirmed yet, but that's what we're aiming for. And there's also going to be the Heartstopper Yearbook coming out.
My God.
So that's going to be like basically an art book. It's just going to have lots of full color artwork, old illustrations, new illustrations, bits of trivia and a quiz and like a drawing guide and like all kinds of fun stuff like that. So very excited about that.
Yeah, I'm very happy because I love the details that you put in the end of each book. Like
it's like an extended version of
his bedroom and all his drums. It's lovely. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to comics.
Okay.
Go back to comics. So what is for you because now you're going to have you're not going to put in webtoon anymore, you're going to go full directed to the books.
The webcomic will be continuing. I'll still be uploading it online. Yeah.
And then you're going to put in the volume 5 of the book. Did you now develop a method for after all these years to because now you have a lot of interviews and all the things to do? How is going to be the routine to put the volume 5?
What, like how I'm going to make it?
All, because we have to have a routine with all the things, and I can't imagine you with all the interviews and traveling.
Yeah, well, it's just trying to give myself enough time for it. My routine until I took my hiatus was trying to make one page almost every day. And I wake up and that would be the first thing I do in the day. And I'd like to go back to doing that. I had to stop doing that last year, and then now this year as well, just because I've had so many other things to do with the TV show mainly. But I'm hoping that, hopefully in a few months, my work for the TV show will get a little bit less, and I'll be able to have the time to go back to my old routine, which was, making Heartstopper one page every day.
Do you have do you want to test another techniques? Like you are drawing digital, right? Do you want to test another techniques? Do you use watercolors, other media?
So I've always drawn it digitally. I've never really drawn it hand drawn, and I think I'd stick with digital always, because that's just what I find easier. I probably wouldn't want to experiment with the style too much, because I want the style, to be the same as it always has been. I think the style just sort of develops naturally as you go along and as you improve as an artist. But so, yeah, I wouldn't be trying to change anything that I've been doing. But I think as an artist, as a webcomic artist, your style just does kind of naturally grow and change as you're going along.
Yeah, because it is a school, right? You're doing it every day.
Yeah.
There's no way you don't develop. What do you think there are the most difficult things about drawing the same characters? Because they have to look alike every time. And I think for us that make comics, this is kind of difficult, because sometimes they look older, sometimes they look younger. And what is it for you? Do you have this problem, or no, it's cool?
Yeah, I do sometimes. I think I didn't have that problem with Nick and Charlie because I'd been drawing them so much before I started Heartstopper, so I already had a really good idea of what they look like. But like with other characters, I think the wise thing to do is to actually spend some time designing a character and like practicing drawing that character before you put them in the comic. But I'm very impatient, so I just like put characters in there without ever having drawn them in my life before. And then usually like I have to go back and edit slightly just to sort of make a little bit more continuity in what the character looks like.
What is for you to develop the story? How do you start the story? And I'm not only talking about Heartstopper in this case, about all the stories that you do, because they kind of connect, right? So how do you start the story?
When I'm planning a story, I always start by thinking about the themes of the story and what I want the message of the story to be, what I want the tone of the story to be, thinking about like why I'm making this story. And then after that, I usually develop the characters, starting with the main character and then thinking about what the main relationships in that story will be, and thinking about what the character's main personality traits are, and then what other personality traits they might have that might not be shown till later, or something that they might learn over the course of the story. And then only after that do I start thinking about the plot, because I hate plotting. It's literally my least favorite part of any story process. I think that's sort of my process.
Do you get inspired to write the stories in any other stories? Like I also hate plotting because it's really boring when you are watching something that is going so well, and then they have to insert a problem there just for the sake of the problem, So do you get inspired? I know that we are inspired by lots of things, not only comics. So are there any TV shows, movies that get you inspired to write the stories?
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of things. Like inspiration just comes from all kinds of places. I watch a lot of TV, and I'm always inspired by a lot of TV that I've seen, for all different kinds of reasons, and other books that I've read. I think there's just a feeling that you get when you watch something or read something that you really, really enjoy. For me anyway, when I really enjoy something, I'm always thinking about like, why did I enjoy that so much? What is it about that story that drew me in? And it's that feeling that I'm trying to capture in my own work. So I think, yeah, it's important for any artist to like just be reading and watching and consuming other art all the time, even if it's nothing to do with your own art. It just like feeling inspired by other people is really important.
Yeah, because I feel like, I don't know if that's a reference for you, but I feel like Heartstopper is like the series and TV shows that I used to watch. I kind of still watch it, like Gilmore Girls, that you have like 1 hour of show and mostly something happens, but it's really low profile, you know? And I feel really thankful for that, because I'm so tired of everything that I read, someone has to die, especially gay characters, and something really bad has to happen. So I feel like I identify with your style because of that. I like this type of style, where it's just chill. Sometimes something happens, but it's chill.
Yes.
And what do you say to people that are starting webtoons? Because I believe that people that are starting, they think they have to have success in the first week or they won't continue and they end up giving up. What is your advice for people that are starting webcomics?
Well, I think you can't go into webcomics thinking that you're going to be really successful, because it's so rare that it actually happens. You should be making your webcomic out of love for your story, and because it's just something you really want to make. So my advice would be to not think about, not think too much about, how am I going to grow my audience, or when am I going to get, shown on the front page of this website. It's like your number one priority should be your love for the story and your passion for what you're making, because even if your webcomic doesn't get hardly any readers, if it's something that you truly loved doing, then that will have been a really, really valuable experience, and it will have taught you so much about making comics and making art. So yeah.
And as an independent book artist, because before getting published by an editor, you had a Kickstarter, you were doing your independent comics. What are your advices to people that are starting in this business, like independent business, I guess?
Yeah, I guess I would say, like, don't be afraid to ask for help. I think when I did the Kickstarter, I struggled with it quite a lot because I'm not very good at like business stuff and like money stuff. I just don't have the right brain for it. It immediately makes me like switch off, not interested. So I found a lot of the Kickstarter stuff really overwhelming, and I had to like ask, my parents and my friends for some help, and that was really, really helpful. So yeah, it can be quite overwhelming and scary when you start thinking about like business and money stuff like that. But you don't have to do it alone. Like people will help. So yeah.
Yeah, because we kind of have to be everything. Our
exactly.
editor, the one who draws, the one who sells, the one who distributes. Yeah. So I think it's my last question. I don't know, because I'm here talking as if we are kind of friends talking about comics. So I kind of don't know if this is my last question. Do you have any? I am not going to ask if you have plans to come to Brazil, because But do you have any plans to make any other books from this Oseman verse into comics?
I don't think I would. I would definitely not adapt any of my prose novels as graphic novels. I think once I have told a story, I wouldn't want to like rewrite it as a different kind of book. Like adapting to TV or film is kind of a different thing, but like if next time I create a graphic novel, I think I would want it to be about new characters. And I once I've told a story, like in my prose novels, I feel like I've kind of like finished that story and that chapter of my creative journey. So yeah, whatever book I write after Heartstopper, it will almost certainly be about new characters, new ideas. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to read everything before and everything after Heartstopper.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And please tell me the time, because I'm not even with the phone here around me, because I'm just enjoying this, you know. And
I think that's all right to finish up there, if that's
okay.
All right.
Thank you so much. It was so nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
I hope everything turns well with your volume 4, 5, 6, 7.